Hollywood loves rules. They want every actress to fit into a neat little box. Cute, glamorous, safe. Follow the trends, take the easy roles, and climb the ladder exactly the way everyone else expects. It sounds simple. It sounds predictable. But what happens when someone refuses to follow that path? When someone looks at the mold and says, no, I'm making my own rules, that someone is Florence Pugh. From the very start, Florence didn't play it safe. She didn't rely on luck. She didn't wait for Hollywood to notice her. Instead, she took risks, bold, unconventional risks, that could have ended her career before it began. And yet, here she is, one of the most talked about actresses in Hollywood today. People love her, critics admire her, and fans can't get enough. But it wasn't luck that got her here. It was strategy, determination, and a refusal to conform. Imagine being an outsider in one of the toughest industries in the world. No famous family, no connections, no shortcuts. Just talent, grit, and a dream. That was Florence's starting point. And from day one, she made choices that shocked the system. While most young actresses chase fame and popularity, Florence chose roles that were complex, dark, and often risky. She said no to easy paths that could have given her instant attention. Instead, she built a foundation that was strong, resilient, and entirely her own. And that's the story this video will explore. How Florence Pugh navigated Hollywood on her own terms, defied expectations, and created a career that is as inspiring as it is rare. In the next few minutes, you'll see the bold decisions, the turning points, and the lessons that anyone trying to succeed in Hollywood or anywhere else can learn from her journey. So if you've ever wondered what it really takes to stand out in a sea of talent, or how one actress can quietly rewrite the rules of success, you're about to find out. Because Florence Pugh didn't just enter Hollywood, she disrupted it. And that's just the beginning. Florence Pugh wasn't born into Hollywood royalty. She didn't have famous parents, industry contacts, or a golden ticket handed to her. She grew up in a normal family in Oxfordshire, England. Life was simple. Ordinary, always simple. But even as a child, she had something extraordinary, a drive to be seen, to create, to perform. She wasn't waiting for someone to open doors for her. She wanted to build her own path. Imagine being a young girl with big dreams, knowing the world you want to conquer doesn't know your name yet. That's Florence's starting point. She had talent, yes, but raw talent alone doesn't get you noticed in Hollywood. What got her moving forward was grit, focus, and the courage to take risks other young actors would never consider. She didn't just practice acting. She studied it, lived it, and made it a part of who she was. Her outsider status shaped her in ways many insiders could never understand. Florence knew she wasn't part of the Hollywood system. She didn't inherit connections. She wasn't groomed to follow trends. That could have been a disadvantage. Most people would see it as a roadblock. But Florence turned it into a superpower. Being an outsider meant she could experiment, fail, and rise without anyone telling her what to do. She could define herself, not the system. Even in school productions, she stood out. Teachers noticed her intensity. Peers noticed her fearlessness. She had a spark, a willingness to dive into roles that were complex, challenging, and often uncomfortable. This wasn't about attention or popularity. It was about shaping her craft and defining her identity as an actor. And that mindset carried her all the way to the first steps of a professional career. By the time she started auditioning professionally, Florence had already built the most important thing an outsider can have, confidence in her own vision. She knew she would succeed, not because Hollywood guaranteed it, but because she refused to compromise on her choices. She was ready to take risks, and the world wasn't ready for someone like her yet. That outsider mentality, that fierce independence, that refusal to conform, is the foundation of everything that comes next. It's what allowed Florence to make bold choices, pick roles most would avoid, and ultimately create a career that feels authentic, daring, and completely her own. And this is where the real story begins. Once Florence stepped into the professional acting world, she faced a choice that would define her career: play it safe or take risks. Most young actresses in Hollywood choose the predictable path. They go for roles that promise instant fame, commercial appeal, or comfort. But Florence? She didn't just think outside the box. She ignored the box entirely. From her first roles, she gravitated toward characters that were complex, dark, and emotionally challenging. Her debut in indie films wasn't about glamour or popularity. It was about craft, depth and authenticity. She wasn't interested in being just another pretty face on screen. She wanted roles that tested her, that demanded she dig deep and confront raw, often uncomfortable emotions. And in doing so, she immediately set herself apart. Audiences noticed. Critics noticed. But most importantly, Florence noticed something about herself, that she could trust her instincts even when the stakes were high. Take, for example, her role in The Falling, a film that demanded vulnerability, intensity and courage. It wasn't the kind of role that guarantees awards or mainstream recognition. It was risky. Some might have avoided it entirely. But Florence saw opportunity where others saw danger. She immersed herself fully in the character, embracing the challenges rather than shying away. That willingness to tackle difficult material from day one sent a clear message. Florence Pugh was not here to follow Hollywood's rules. And this pattern continued with her next roles. Each choice reinforced her reputation as someone unafraid to defy expectations. While other actresses might have been concerned with popularity metrics, social media fame, or pleasing studios, Florence was focused on something else entirely, building a career that mattered. One where every role added depth, credibility, and meaning to her journey. The risk was real. Choosing bold, unconventional roles early in a career can backfire. A single flop could have typecast her, closed doors, or erased visibility. But Florence seemed to have an innate sense of which challenges were worth taking. She wasn't reckless, she was strategic. Each risky role was a calculated move to showcase her range and cement her presence as a serious actress. By the time the wider industry started to notice her, she already had a foundation of credibility and respect that many spend years trying to build. Her first bold choices didn't just make headlines, they established a pattern. Florence Pugh would not conform. She would choose quality over safety, substance over comfort, and her instincts over trends. And that pattern would define her career for years to come. By now, Florence Pugh was gaining attention. Critics were noticing her. Indie films were showcasing her talent. Opportunities were starting to knock, and most young actresses would have said yes to anything that promised fame, recognition, or a shortcut to Hollywood stardom. But Florence, she didn't. She said no. Not once, not twice, but repeatedly. Glamorous, safe, or formulaic roles came her way. Roles that promised instant exposure, roles that could have made her a household name overnight. And many in her position might have jumped at them without a second thought. But Florence had a different vision. She understood that chasing quick fame could trap her in predictable patterns, typecasting and roles that would never challenge her. She wanted something more, something lasting, something real. Turning down easy fame wasn't about arrogance or rebellion. It was about strategy, integrity, and patience. Florence recognized that her early career was fragile. One wrong role could define her in ways she didn't want. She didn't want to be just a cute girl or a pretty face in Hollywood. She wanted to be known for range, depth, and talent. So she chose carefully. She prioritized quality over quantity, meaning over hype, and long-term credibility over instant visibility. This decision took courage. It meant saying no to agents, producers and casting directors who were offering opportunities that could have brought her instant fame. It meant watching peers rise quickly in the industry while she focused on careful, thoughtful career moves. But Florence saw the bigger picture. She knew that real success isn't measured by headlines or social media followers. It's measured by respect, skill, and the ability to choose your own path. By rejecting easy fame, Florence not only protected her career trajectory, but also built a reputation as someone selective, serious, and intentional. People in the industry noticed. Directors, writers, and critics began to see her as a professional who valued her craft above all else. This selectiveness became a part of her identity, a subtle but powerful signal that Florence Pugh was here to do something different. Saying no to the obvious, the glamorous, the safe was risky, but that risk became her advantage. It allowed her to take on roles that challenged her, grew her skills, and solidified her position as an actress who cannot be boxed in. It was a defining point in her journey, and it laid the groundwork for the choices that would later catapult her from indie darling to international sensation. After saying no to easy fame, Florence Pugh's career path led her into the indie film world. This was a place where risk wasn't just encouraged, it was expected. Indie films demanded depth, complexity, and nuance. And for Florence, this environment was perfect. She wasn't just acting, she was building credibility. Every project she took on in this phase became a stepping stone for a career grounded in respect, craft, and artistry. Her performances were immediately striking. Audiences could feel the authenticity. Critics could see the dedication. Florence had a way of inhabiting her characters so fully that it wasn't just acting. It was transformation. Every role she picked in this period wasn't about visibility or box office numbers. It was about challenge, growth, and demonstrating range. This was her foundation, her proving ground, and she took it seriously. Indie films also offered something Hollywood blockbusters couldn't: creative freedom. Florence thrived in this space because she could experiment, make mistakes, and explore emotions that were raw and unpredictable. She played characters that were flawed, messy, and human, roles that required courage and nuance, and she delivered time and again. These performances didn't just impress viewers, they built trust with directors, writers, and industry insiders. Florence Pugh was becoming known as someone whose talent couldn't be ignored. During this phase, she also learned to navigate the industry wisely. Indie credibility wasn't just about acting, it was about strategic choices. Choosing films with strong scripts, meaningful stories, and directors who respected her vision was essential. She turned down projects that didn't align with her standards, even if they seemed lucrative. This selectiveness reinforced her image as a thoughtful, intentional actress, someone who valued craft over glamour. What's remarkable is that this approach wasn't just clever, it was bold. Many young actresses would chase fame, even at the cost of artistic integrity. Florence, however, doubled down on her principles. She wasn't seeking awards or media headlines. She was seeking mastery. Every indie film added to her repertoire, and every role made a statement. Florence Pugh is here to act, to transform, and to define herself on her own terms. By the end of this phase, her reputation was undeniable. Critics were praising her performances. Fellow actors were taking note. Directors were calling. Florence had created a career foundation that many struggled to achieve in decades. She had credibility, respect, and an unmistakable voice in the industry, all before stepping into blockbuster territory. This indie credibility phase wasn't just a period of growth, it was a declaration. Florence Pugh was not a Hollywood product, she was an artist, and she was ready for the world to notice every career has a moment where everything changes. For Florence Pugh, that moment came with a role that forced Hollywood to stop and pay attention. She had already built credibility in indie films, proven her talent, and made bold choices. But it was this turning point role that elevated her from a rising star to a name the industry could no longer ignore. The film demanded everything from her: emotional intensity, complexity, and the ability to carry scenes with subtlety and depth. It wasn't easy. Many would have struggled under the pressure, but Florence thrived. She transformed into her character completely, making every scene believable, gripping, and memorable. Audiences felt her performance, critics praised it, and suddenly Florence Pugh was no longer just a promising actress. She was a force to be reckoned with. This role wasn't just about talent. It was about timing, courage, and instinct. Florence chose the part knowing it was risky. It could have backfired, leaving her pigeonholed or overlooked. But she understood the potential. She understood that great roles don't just build reviews, they build legacies. And this choice showed that Florence wasn't just acting for attention. She was acting to define her career on her terms. Hollywood began to notice the pattern. Florence didn't chase easy fame, glamorous roles, or safe projects. She chased depth, authenticity, and characters that challenged her. This turning point role solidified her image as someone who could carry a film with strength and nuance, someone whose presence demanded respect, and someone whose choices were deliberate, not opportunistic. Beyond the awards and recognition, this role changed her trajectory. It opened doors to bigger projects, introduced her to influential directors, and positioned her as an actress who could handle both indie depth and mainstream appeal. But more importantly, it reinforced the lesson that had guided her since the beginning. Trust your instincts, take calculated risks, and never compromise your vision. For viewers, this turning point is a reminder that careers are rarely linear. Talent alone isn't enough. Strategic choices, courage, and the willingness to face challenges head-on make the difference. Florence's turning point role wasn't just a highlight in her filmography. It was a statement to the entire industry. She is here on her own terms, and she cannot be ignored. This moment marked the bridge between the Florence, who was a promising indie actress, and the Florence who would go on to dominate headlines, critical acclaim, and blockbuster franchises. It was a pivotal step in a journey defined by intelligence, courage, and unapologetic authenticity. After establishing herself as a serious actress in indie films, Florence Pugh faced another critical decision: whether to dive headfirst into blockbuster territory or continue building her craft quietly. Many young actors would have jumped at the chance to star in a Marvel movie or any big franchise without hesitation. But Florence approached this phase of her career with the same intentionality that had defined her early choices. She didn't just want exposure, she wanted meaningful exposure. So, entering blockbusters can be tricky. The risk of overexposure, typecasting, or losing artistic credibility is real. But Florence had learned from experience that success isn't about doing everything that comes your way. It's about choosing roles that serve your long-term vision. She evaluated scripts carefully, considering not just the character, but also the director, the story, and how the project aligned with her personal brand. Every decision was deliberate. When she finally accepted a major franchise role, it wasn't about instant fame or social media buzz. It was about bringing depth to characters that might otherwise feel one-dimensional, making her presence felt even in a sea of spectacle. Florence approached blockbuster films the same way she approached indie ones. She fully embodied her characters, added nuance to the storytelling, and left a lasting impression on audiences. This controlled entry also allowed her to maintain credibility. Hollywood insiders noticed that she wasn't chasing the limelight recklessly. She was choosing big projects on her own terms, ensuring that her reputation for authenticity and talent remained intact. This balance between mainstream appeal and artistic integrity is rare. Many actors struggle to navigate this line, but Florence managed it with remarkable clarity and precision. Moreover, her careful approach to blockbuster films reinforced her image as someone who commands respect in every context. Whether in an intimate indie drama or a global franchise, she remained true to her craft. Audiences began to see a pattern. Florence Pugh doesn't follow trends. She sets standards. She doesn't compromise her artistry for fame. Instead, she selectively amplifies her impact, ensuring that every appearance resonates. By entering blockbusters strategically, Florence didn't just expand her fan base, she solidified her career longevity. She proved that it's possible to participate in massive commercial projects without sacrificing integrity. This stage of her journey demonstrates a powerful lesson. Real success comes from thinking long-term, making intentional choices, and mastering your craft at every level. Her controlled entry into blockbusters marked a turning point. A phase where Florence balanced visibility with credibility, charm with depth, and popularity with authenticity. She wasn't just another Hollywood actress joining the hype machine. She was Florence Pugh, creating a career that is as sustainable as it is remarkable. In Hollywood, image is everything. The media loves to craft narratives, fans love to gossip, and studios often push actors into molds that sell. But Florence Pugh never let anyone dictate her image. From the beginning, she understood that her reputation, her authenticity, and the way she presented herself were as important as her performances. She was in control, and she stayed true to herself, no matter the pressure. Florence's approach to image was simple but powerful, authenticity over perfection. She didn't chase the glossy, airbrushed look that Hollywood often demands. She spoke openly about body shaming, personal struggles, and the challenges of fame. She refused to hide behind a fabricated persona, and that honesty resonated deeply with fans. It made her relatable, real, and inspiring, someone people could root for, not just admire from afar. Social media and paparazzi culture can be ruthless. Many actors feel compelled to conform, to craft a perfect public persona, or to react to every trend. But Florence avoided this trap. She let her work speak louder than speculation. She didn't chase clicks or likes. She focused on substance. Each appearance, each interview, each public statement was intentional, reinforcing who she is, rather than what the media wanted her to be. This authenticity extended to her professional choices as well. Directors and casting teams noticed that Florence was serious, grounded, and thoughtful. She didn't play games to curry favour. She didn't compromise her values for temporary gain. By controlling her image, she maintained credibility, attracted the right collaborators, and positioned herself as an actress whose reputation preceded her talent. The result? Florence built a personal brand that feels rare in modern Hollywood. She is approachable yet commanding, vulnerable yet strong, real yet aspirational. Fans love her for it, and the industry respects it. She proved that staying true to yourself isn't just ethical, it's strategically smart. Authenticity became her superpower. In a world where public perception can make or break careers, Florence's image control shows how intentionality shapes destiny. She didn't follow trends, she set standards. She didn't let fame define her. She defined fame on her terms. For audiences watching, this lesson is clear. Credibility, integrity, and authenticity aren't just buzzwords. They are tools that can elevate your career and legacy. By mastering her public image without compromising her values, Florence Pugh demonstrated a truth few actors achieve. In Hollywood, being yourself can be your greatest advantage. And this control over image and authenticity would carry her through the toughest challenges, allowing her to continue growing, taking risks and shaping a career that's both impressive and inspiring. For Florence Pugh, it's one thing, long-term thinking. From her earliest choices, she treated her career like a chess game, not a sprint. Every role, every interview, every public appearance was part of a bigger plan. One designed not just for immediate recognition, but for a career that would endure and evolve. Florence understood that instant fame can be dangerous. The industry rewards trends, hype, and viral moments, but those things fade quickly. She wasn't chasing short-term attention. She wanted sustainability, respect, and mastery. Each decision she made was deliberate. Each role she chose, each collaboration she accepted, each public image she curated was a move that built toward a legacy. Her long-term thinking also meant embracing patience. Hollywood is often unforgiving to those who rush, but Florence showed discipline. She allowed her skills to develop before taking blockbuster roles. She nurtured her indie credibility before seeking global recognition. She prioritized learning over appearing everywhere. This mindset is rare. Most young actors feel pressure to say yes to every opportunity, but Florence demonstrated that the most strategic moves are the ones that protect your career trajectory and integrity. Another aspect of her long-term approach was risk management. Florence took risks, yes, but calculated ones. She didn't gamble with her reputation. She evaluated scripts, directors, and projects carefully. She asked herself, does this role align with my vision? Does it challenge me? Will it strengthen my craft? If the answer was yes, she committed fully. If not, she walked away. This discipline allowed her to steadily build a body of work that is diverse, respected, and meaningful. Long-term thinking also shaped how she approached visibility. Florence didn't rely on gimmicks or fleeting publicity stunts. She let her performances speak for her. She cultivated relationships with the right collaborators, trusted her instincts, and avoided shortcuts that might have compromised her artistic integrity. The result? Every career step reinforced the last, creating momentum that was both authentic and unstoppable. For audiences, the lesson is clear. Thinking beyond the immediate, valuing patience, and making strategic choices can define success in ways flashy headlines cannot. Florence Pugh's career isn't a series of lucky breaks. It's the result of careful planning, foresight, and deliberate effort. She shows that real success in Hollywood and in life comes from vision, discipline, and consistency. By prioritizing the long game, Florence not only achieved fame, but also crafted a sustainable, respected, and inspiring career. She proved that acting isn't just about being seen today. It's about building something that lasts for years to come. What does it really take to stand out in an industry that rewards conformity over courage? Florence Pugh has shown us the answer, and it's not what most people expect. Her journey isn't just about talent, beauty, or timing. It's about vision, integrity, and fearless decision-making. By now, Florence has carved a place for herself that few actors ever achieve. She isn't just a name on the marquee. She's a symbol of what happens when someone refuses to compromise, when someone values authenticity over hype, and when someone treats their craft as more than just a job. Her legacy isn't measured in box office numbers alone. but in the consistency, risk-taking and intentionality that define her career. What makes her story so inspiring is that she shows us a blueprint for success that applies beyond Hollywood. It's a lesson in patience, knowing that quick fame can fade, and that long-term credibility lasts. It's a lesson in courage, taking risks that scare most people, refusing roles or opportunities that compromise your values, and trusting your instincts. It's a lesson in authenticity, controlling your image, staying true to who you are, and letting your work speak louder than headlines. Florence's legacy is also about influence. Fans around the world see her as relatable, approachable, and real. She talks openly about challenges, struggles, and self-doubt. She reminds audiences that being human is part of being powerful. That vulnerability can coexist with strength, and that staying true to yourself can be more rewarding than chasing applause. For aspiring actors, creatives, and anyone striving to build something meaningful, Florence's journey is proof that success isn't just about being seen. It's about strategic choices, authenticity, and thinking long-term. Every bold decision, every careful selection, and every performance has contributed to a career that is not only impressive, but also deeply respected. So here's the question again for you to ponder as we wrap up. Are you willing to take the risks, trust your instincts, and stay true to yourself? Even if the world expects you to play it safe. Florence Pugh dared to do just that. And her story shows that courage, clarity, and authenticity don't just build a career, they build a legacy. In the end, Florence Pugh isn't just an actress. She's a lesson, an inspiration, and a reminder that true success comes to those who carve their own path, unapologetically and intentionally.